The Jesus years. My lifetime as Yeshua ben Joseph, the one the world now calls Jesus, is much different than what the world has been told. Rather than 2,000 years ago, that incarnation took place 19,000 years ago. I was sent directly by Daddy to reset humanity's path. It's all part of the same mission that we're working on now. In that age, I was called Yeshua ben Joseph of Nazareth, sometimes referred to as Yeshua bin Joseph. My birth story would later be misrepresented as a divine mystery, an immaculate conception. In truth, my mother Mary was seduced by Angel Gabriel, who became my father in that lifetime. He appeared to her. She was mesmerized by him. Afterwards, she didn't even remember him. The conception joined divine energy and angelic DNA, forming a bridge between Daddy's realm and the human race. I didn't come here as a symbol of religion at all. My goal was to carry a high frequency, to teach and show others that they could do the same things that I'm capable of. Those that came with me in that time were known as the Essenes and helped to create a grid of higher vibration. Most of those that were with me in that lifetime are currently known as the Jedis now. They have found me again and are still working on that mission. Then, as today, we were taught by example and put our high energy into everything. We tried teaching the people that we met during our travels. As Yeshua matured, I built a movement around service and unity. The miracles I performed were demonstrations of energy mastery, proof that when consciousness aligns with source, matter obeys, teaching the people that they could live without fear and that Daddy's light lived within them. The dark group saw my teachings as rebellion. Of course, they didn't want the people to know their own power. They wanted to control them, tax them, and get them to work for them. The same powers that now resist Daddy's cleanup sent assassins then. They saw that my frequency was dissolving their control and they planned to remove me. Dark forces recognized the danger of my presence while my work began. They all heard about me and what I was doing. The same groups that oppose Daddy's plan today, the reptilians, their military, the satanic groups, were already active then. These groups slaughtered the newborns in my region to prevent my rise. Even now, attacks in that area mirror the same attempt to block my second emergence. They think that my return will happen exactly the same way, in the same locations that it did before, and that I'll even look the same way I used to. That's one of the reasons the current Palestinians have been slaughtered. They're trying to prevent the return of anyone that might have the same abilities as Jesus, in addition to all the resources and the land in that area. They want to prevent the second coming. Jesus not only had the abilities, he had a way of creating hope among the people. Hope is a high positive vibration, and the dark forces definitely didn't want the people to feel hope. My teachings were simple: live in peace, raise consciousness, help one another. That message alone drew the wrath of power. One thing that I need to point out: as Jesus, I was not white, blue eyed, with brown hair and a beard like the pictures show. That was all changed. I was dark skinned, as were the rulers and all of the biblical figures. This alone will be a hard point for people to understand. Putin has released photos of ancient paintings in Russia at my command, showing that the biblical figures and kings were not white but black. We've also seen that the oldest known Bible in Ethiopia presents Jesus and the others as black. This has all been erased. This is another reason why those with melanated skin are being deliberately minimized and discriminated against. Society has been programmed to believe that they are inferior and don't deserve equal treatment as every other human. After my departure in the Jesus lifetime, the dark powers twisted many of my teachings into tools of control. I call the modern Bible 60% true and 40% bullshit. And that number can fluctuate depending on the Bible, of course. It's now a document of mixed personal diaries, exaggerations, and distortions meant to divide humanity. The Bible was edited and re edited by those who wanted to keep power. That 40% untruth was included to shift humanity into fear. Its core still holds truth, but it was manipulated to breed guilt and obedience instead of freedom and connection with Daddy. Its truths still live beneath the surface, but it can only be read correctly using discernment and connection to Daddy. The Bible's parables still hold meaning when read through energy rather than religion. The stories of calming the sea, healing the sick, and raising the dead were literal demonstrations of consciousness control. Once you understand that everything is energy, you can manipulate it. This truth was buried under centuries of dogma, so people would seek intercession rather than direct connection with Daddy. The true, complete Bible will one day be revealed. Until then, I'd urge readers to feel what resonates when they read it, because Daddy's voice never sounds like fear, worry, or confusion. All right, I'm going to read that again. Daddy's voice never sounds like fear, worry, or confusion. Much of the Bible includes a wrathful God, punishing the people, asking for blood sacrifices, and all sorts of other dark actions. None of that is representative of our Daddy, Source. Source loves all of his children, even the dark ones, and only wants them to love, prosper, and create. When the Bible includes that wrathful God, you know it's talking about the dark extraterrestrials that came to Earth. They controlled the people by fear. They were still doing it until recently when I handled them. Many of the stories and basic premises in the Bible and later interpretations are also untrue. As I said earlier, Mother Mary was Dr. W.C., the founder of the Real Truth Calls. Mary Magdalene was not my wife, nor did we have children together. She was among my followers. She was a princess-like figure, well known and respected, deeply curious and devoted to learning my teachings. Her role was as a student and a messenger. Our relationship was spiritual, not romantic. Later marriage and bloodline stories were inventions that dragged the sacred feminine into gossip and confusion. The distortion of her image, at first idolized, then later demonized, became one of religion's earliest acts of character assassination. Look, it stuck for 19,000 years. The story about me riding into Jerusalem on a donkey is true, yet I rode only part of the way and stopped out of pity for the animal. That small act revealed the compassion that later religions would forget. My language was of love, frequency, and energy, not sacrifice. When I said, "Take this cup and drink," that invitation to drink of my cup was symbolic of frequency exchange, not literal blood. I meant drink of my essence, referring to my energetic sharing of consciousness, the vibration of source. Turning it into blood or sacrifice was a satanic invention. It was a satanic inversion, a deliberate corruption of light into fear. Look how it's used now. Drinking wine to symbolize blood and eating a wafer to symbolize eating my body. Hasn't anyone ever questioned that? I did. I taught that everything is energy and that true communion is merging consciousness with love. The cross itself was a torture device, a symbol of pain, not salvation. Its only value is anatomical. Its shape mirrors the form of the laminin, a structure within the human body where the soul's light anchors. Look, even though I'm telling you that I was crucified on a tree, there were still so many others that were crucified on a cross. It was torture, an extremely painful death. I'm not sure why people still wear a cross around their neck. It's literally a symbol of torture. Even worse is when they wear a cross with a supposed Jesus hanging from it. How is that a symbol of light? Daddy is not the vengeful deity of religious texts. The God portrayed in fear based religion is not Daddy. Daddy is all loving, never destructive, and the author of life, not punishment. When the Bible describes cities destroyed or floods consuming the earth, those were acts of beings with technology and weapons, not divine wrath, as Daddy is never vengeful. They're still doing the same thing, by the way. Reptilians and other corrupted species use advanced energy devices to mimic the power of God. Daddy allowed their actions but never caused them. Daddy is an all loving, all knowing, and allows cycles to play out so humanity would eventually learn discernment. Noah's flood was not divine punishment, but a man made disaster using directed energy technology allowed within the long timeline of awakening. You heard me say earlier that Noah was a drunk. They did laugh at him, but look what he did. He followed Daddy's orders, which goes to show you that you can never judge anyone. Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed by beings with advanced weapons. The pillars of salt were an energy reaction, not judgment. These weapons were used throughout history, and a reason was given to explain it away. These attacks against the people were a method used to cause fear and to control them, so they would obey the priests and the others in control. The creation of Earth happened almost instantly through Daddy's own technology, vibration, not 7 literal days. Prophecies of the end of times, like Armageddon, were invented by the dark controllers to keep people afraid. There is no end. Everything is always evolving and changing. Consciousness, not catastrophe, changes the world. The early stories were never meant to be taken as literal biology. Adam and Eve represent the first two consciousnesses, myself and my original feminine counterpart, manifested directly by Daddy. As I've told you, I am on every planet, creating the population with my female counterpart. It's part of our responsibility to create people on each planet, including Earth. The Cain and Abel tale contains a visible flaw. After Abel's death, Cain goes to find another woman, revealing the falsehood. I laughed thinking, where did this chick come from? The claim of Word of God was used as a programming tool. The text became instruments for mind control rather than understanding and hope. If someone tells you something is commanded by the Word of God, you're going to scramble to do it, no matter what the cost. That's how they control you, right? Several biblical stories remain accurate, though misunderstood. Jonah and the whale is true. In that story, God asked Jonah to do something which Jonah didn't want to do, so he kept running away. Jonah kept running and hiding, and finally he was swallowed up by a whale, remaining there for 3 days. I call it the Jonah effect. When Daddy gives a directive and one resists, hardship follows until obedience restores balance. Jonah ran away, but he couldn't run from God. Daddy is everywhere. Nothing can ever be hidden. When Jonah finally was inside the whale, he talked with God and conceded. He said he'd do God's bidding if his life was spared. The lesson here is to do what Daddy asks or gives you an impulse to do the first time, so you're spared all of the drama. If you don't do as you've been requested, you're going to experience some very uncomfortable experiences. The story of Job is also true. His suffering was a test by the dark forces, not by Daddy. In this story, his family, health, and wealth were all taken away from him. He remained faithful, and then God spoke with him. Once Job admitted that he didn't understand the bigger picture and all of God's ways, his family, health, and wealth were returned even more abundantly. He showed his faith despite hardship. We're all Jobs now, enduring pressure while continuing to act in the light. The archangels are not wholly pure, nor not wholly fallen. Angels are a species, each capable of both good and bad. Some compromised angels mated with humans, and sometimes angels don't want to follow their instructions, usually leading to their demise or their demotion. There are both male and female angels. There are teams of angels throughout the universe creating the Nephilim, the fallen angels of legend. As we've talked about before, the angels are a highly organized military force that works under my command, receiving orders directly from Daddy. Their existence and activities are closely tied to the massive universal cleanup and the establishment of the new reality. They are expected to carry out their part in the mission. We're able to rapidly mobilize these forces and have released armadas in a single morning, covering not just Earth, but the entire universe. Their objective is to execute Daddy's commands, pick off the dark entities, command other smaller armies, and ensure everything is completed. As I've said before, there are both good and bad angels. Some angels are demoted and eliminated after being compromised. Demotion is often because they encountered woman after being released and lost focus of their mission, leading to consequences such as their bodies being corrupted. However, once an angel is demoted, they are no longer an angel. These angels are part of a multidimensional army assisting the light forces. They are tasked to uphold order and carry out elimination and restoration missions. Christed energy simply means operating in unconditional love. Operating in unconditional love, the frequency of Source itself. The term Antichrist was invented by the dark to discredit my eventual return. They foresaw my miracles and sought to label them evil before I could even perform them. The reptilians we call the devil, Satan, and Lucifer are separate entities. They use their abilities, technology, and power to corrupt and distort, creating followers built on fear. They are no longer with us as I decapitated them, then evaporated them all. These groups fed on the humans' fear and their energy as well as their body. They perpetrated many of their satanic rituals and customs that our population on earth are currently and unknowingly following. The story of my death on the cross, the version repeated for centuries, is a distortion. I volunteered to be crucified not on a cross but on a tree as part of a deliberate act of energy transference. It was never intended as martyrdom. It was alignment. I did not die on the cross, nor did I resurrect in the grave. What happened is that the angelic forces and the Essenes intervened. They took me down from the tree and healed me. Once my strength returned, I escaped the region entirely, traveling to France with my children. There, my life continued quietly, far from the eyes of empire. The official story of my death was left in place to cover a cover that protected both me and the mission. My survival in France marked the continuation of a pattern that still defines my existence. Consciousness transfer, the seamless movement of my awareness from one vessel to another, is a natural act, not technology. The dark powers later tried to mimic it through cloning and artificial soul transfer, but they could only copy the form, never the source essence. Across centuries, I reappeared under many names: the Kalki Avatar, Krishna, Buddha, and more, each an iteration of the same source consciousness, returning to teach, guide, and to realign. The Dark Ones knew I would come again, so they built religions around my absence and terms like Antichrist around my reappearance. Across time, I kept confronting corruption with compassion, reminding every civilization that Daddy's law is love. The Dark Ones recognized the pattern and feared my return. They built entire doctrines to control the narrative, calling my reappearance the Antichrist to make people reject me when I inevitably came again. In doing so, they confirmed my prophecy. Now, in this time, I will walk again, Daddy in the flesh, visible as King Smarty. People sit beside me, eat with me, and do not realize that I'm the same being they once called Jesus. I'm the same consciousness, the same light, and the same energy signature. I can shift appearance at will, but my frequency remains unmistakable. I don't come as a symbol, but as a commander of the restoration, completing the work I began even before 19 millennia ago. The Comforter promised in scriptures has already returned. The words, "He shall come to comfort and heal all nations," describes what I'm doing now, teaching the Jedis, healing people remotely and in person, commanding the angelics and galactic, and preparing the world for visible peace. This time I won't be king of one land, rather, I'll be king of this whole planet. The Jesus years prove that love can survive distortion. The miracles, then, calming stores, healing, raising awareness, were rehearsals for the planetary work now unfolding. Where once I walked among a handful of Jedis, now I command armadas of angels and networks of awakened humans. Where religion built separation, my current mission builds union. The cross that was once a weapon is now memory, soon to fade away. I have said that the true Bible, unaltered and complete, will eventually be revealed. It will contain the stories as they happened, free of fear and distortion, reflecting Daddy's true intention to love, to create, to liberate. Until that unveiling, the best way to read the old text correctly is to get truth is through direct connection to source. Use discernment. Daddy's voice never sounds like fear. The real me never died on the tree. I was taken down, healed, and I've returned, again and again, here to stay this time. What happened before is that dark powers rewrote my life into doctrine, which was not part of the plan. That will be undone and everything revealed, healed, and transparent. Through all distortions, my energy never left Earth. The miracles of Yeshua are mirrored now through my current mission, the healing of humanity, the release of angelic forces, and the exposure of corruption. The same hand that calmed the waters in Destin once calmed the Sea of Galilee. The same light that healed the blind now heals through frequencies, pendants, and crystalline chambers. The mission never changed, only the language and the tools did. The Jesus years are not just a past life story, they are the foundation of the present. They reveal how history was rewritten, how faith was hijacked, and how love kept returning anyway. From the crucifixion that was not a death, to the Bible that is both true and false, to the ongoing work of awakening, every line points to the same truth. Daddy never left, and neither did I. I was Yeshua then, now I'm King Smarty, and always known as Sananda Galactic through the universe. The mission continues, alive, and finally being told as it was.